Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends, and welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your home for organic Bible study that's fresh and delicious. Today, we're going to be looking at Psalm 92, verses 13 through 15. We'll close out the psalm today with these 3 verses, actually 4 verses, because I'm going to begin in verse 12. As I said yesterday, we have a shift in the language here. We go from the first person in verses 10 and 11. We have Messiah speaking. We also could say we have the worshiper speaking here. But I would prefer to see this as Messiah, since enemies and the wicked are used as descriptors of those people that are rising up against whoever it is that's speaking. And we saw in the psalm that it was against the Lord that the wicked and his enemies rise up against him. Now we look today at verses 12 through 15. I read 12 yesterday, but let me just begin our reading there again today. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing. To show that the Lord is upright, he is my rock. There is no unrighteousness in him. I'm going to put these 4 together because they all describe the saints. 12, 13, and 14 describe the saints of God, the righteous, those that are planted in the house of the Lord. So we've seen the wicked. Those are the enemies, the brutish man, the foolish, the wicked, the workers of iniquity. Those are the enemies of the Lord. They don't know, they don't understand. But now we contrast that with the righteous and those that are planted in the house of the Lord. What are they like? Well, it says they shall flourish. And then we have these similitudes, like a palm tree, like a cedar in Lebanon. In these parallelisms in Hebrew poetry, we have beautiful definitions given. So the word flourish is parallel to grow, which is a wonderful way to define this word. Flourish, you'll notice, occurs 3 different times in the King James translation. There are 2 different Hebrew words here, but they use the same English word to translate both of those words. Flourish here in 12 and flourish again in 13 are the same Hebrew word. Here, the word flourish means to send out sprouts and to grow, to bud, that kind of thing. And so the word grow there in the parallel of this passage in 12, grow like a cedar in Lebanon, explains for us what he means when he says flourish. Again in verse 13, those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish, same Hebrew word, in the courts of our God. What does flourish mean? Again, it means to grow, send out sprouts, and to bud. I have a plant on the side of my drive here at my house, and that plant is a vining plant, and it blooms every spring. And every spring, before it blooms, it sends out shoots and begins to vine up even further the trellis that I've created for it. And so as I look at that plant and I see the buds for the flowers and I see the vining taking place every spring, I say to myself, this plant is flourishing. It's flourishing in this spot. It likes the sun, it likes the shade it gets, it likes the water that it gets here. So this plant is growing, it's healthy, and it's flourishing. That's the idea. The righteous, number 1, flourish, that is, they grow. They're planted in the house of the Lord, and they're flourishing there. And then in 14, they shall bring forth fruit in old age. Fruitfulness now is descriptive of flourishing. They shall be fat, and then here's the second Hebrew word, flourishing. However, this word could also be translated luxuriant. That is, that they are so full of life, and the vim that gives life its green, that gives it its strength and its unction to go. That's the idea here, fat and luxuriant. It's beautiful in a sense because of the growth that it has experienced. So they're bringing forth fruit, they're growing, it's fat, it's luxuriant. This is a description of the saints. And then in verse 15, we have, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. All right, I've characterized this verse 15 as the second why. Remember the first why that was answered was back there in verse 2. Let me turn back there to it. To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night. So it's a good thing to give thanks to the Lord, to sing praises under the name. Why? So that we can show thy loving kindness and thy faithfulness. Here, the righteousness of the saints, their flourishing, their growth, their fruitfulness, their fatness, their luxuriant nature, all of that does what? Why is this important? Because all of these things show that the Lord is upright. Those that worship him are going to be this way. Those that are planted in his house are going to flourish. The wicked, the brutish, the foolish, the workers of iniquity, they don't have this. Those who worship the Lord do. He is my rock. There is no unrighteousness in him. So now we see that not only is God our creator, but God is holy and upright. So him doing this for the saints is an upright act that describes his very character. He is my rock. There is no unrighteousness in him. All right, I hope you will join me again next week as we look at Psalm 93 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.